These next 5 will weave together endurance, intercession, and compassion. Title: Standing in the Gap, inspired by Ezekiel chapter 22 verse 30. When the factory siren broke the silence before dawn, Leroy was already praying in his pickup truck outside the gates, whispering names of coworkers who never prayed for themselves. He had read, "And I sought for a man among them, that should make up the hedge, and stand in the gap before me," and it stirred something in him. All day he worked among bitterness and gossip, but his heart stayed fixed on mercy. As the shift ended, he looked toward heaven and said softly, "Lord, I'll stand here as long as you need me," and heaven heard. Title: A Cup of Cold Water, inspired by Matthew chapter 10 verse 42. At the corner of Grace Avenue and 4th Street, Naomi ran a tiny lemonade stand each summer, not for profit but for kindness. The children laughed, and the weary found refreshment there, because she always remembered that even a cup of cold water given in Christ's name would not lose its reward. When a man with tired eyes and torn shoes stopped by, she smiled and said, "It's free today," and as he drank, tears welled in his eyes. In that small exchange, everywhere, USA felt like holy ground, and heaven's compassion flowed through an ordinary paper cup. Title: Bear ye one another's burdens, inspired by Galatians chapter 6 verse 2. When her neighbor's house caught fire, Sister Ruth did not think twice. She opened her doors, her heart, and her kitchen. The family who lost everything sat at her table, stunned and silent, but she reminded them gently, "We bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ." She prayed with them until sunrise, and though the walls of her home were small, love made them wide. By morning, the whole block was delivering blankets and casseroles. Everywhere, USA learned that compassion, when shared, multiplies until sorrow itself begins to heal. Title: The Prayer Circle, inspired by 1 Timothy chapter 2 verses 1 and 2. Every Wednesday night at the park gazebo, a small group gathered beneath the flicker of streetlights, their hands clasped and their voices lifted in intercession. They prayed for leaders, for neighbors, for enemies, and for those who never set foot in a church. Sarah led the prayers, her voice trembling but sure, repeating, "I exhort therefore, that, first of all, supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men." And in that moment, as the crickets sang and the wind whispered through the trees, everywhere, USA seemed to breathe a little easier. Title: The Compassion of Christ, inspired by Matthew chapter 9 verse 36. The hospital in EveryWhere, USA, was quiet at midnight except for the soft hum of machines and the shuffle of tired nurses. Among them walked Brother Ellis, a chaplain whose eyes had seen both healing and heartbreak. When he read, but when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them. He understood that to love like Jesus was to feel deeply and act gently. So he prayed over sleeping patients, offered comfort to grieving families, and carried hope through dim hallways. In his steps, compassion became a living sermon.